We might as well go live right now. Here we go. And we are live. Hey, welcome everybody to the Mastermind RoundTable, where we discuss everything that's anything to do with our industry, the news and how it relates to the industry, and anything along those lines to make us sane and safe and happy until we could all get back to normal, if there is ever such a thing as normal. I don't know if ever we will get back to normal, because I think we were never normal in the first place. So, but of course, it's my opinion, and everything that's said today is an opinion. If you want to fact check us, please do. You never know what we're saying, if it's accurate or not. So we're going to leave it up to you to make sure that you test it out to make sure that it's accurate. Believe me when I tell you, everything I say comes from the heart, and hopefully it's true. So welcome everybody. And let's just quickly go around the room and see who's got something to say on what's going on. Eric, how's everything with you?
Everything is the same as it's been. Absolutely nothing going on worth talking about in the New York area. There's a lot of talk about what could go on, and there's a lot of speculation. It ranges from, by May, nobody's going to have a stick of gear and they're going to be going to the cemetery to dig up more crew, to things aren't going to really start happening until August, September. You know, for the larger promoters, it still seems nothing until August, at least on a large scale. I mean, I'm sure there may be some smaller venue stuff going on, but a lot of it's just going to be outdoor. I think there's going to be a lot of pop-ups and a lot more experiential things and engagement experiences necessarily than there necessarily would be music. So things will happen, but it's not the panacea that everybody thinks it is in the moment. Doesn't mean it may not happen in May, but there's no great indicators that are at least telling me or anybody I talk to that it will be.
Well, it seems to me that there's a lot of things going on. Okay, so first of all, I heard that Shakespeare Festival in New York is going to be going on. So they're going to be doing, I think, 20 shows in New York. The Las Vegas casinos now have just expanded their capacity from 35 to 50%, starting immediately. Bonnaroo just launched their concert series in Nashville. That's going on, and Polestar, which is one of the magazines that cover what's going on with live talent bookings. They're going to have their first live convention, and that is now scheduled for June 15th through 17th in Beverly Hills. And it looks like 2,000 people have already RSVP'd. So that's exciting. The other thing that I heard is the American cruise lines are now back. They're now cruising and they're booked to capacity. Disneyland and Disney World is opening up right now, and they're not going to open up the full capacity, but they are opening up as well. And so there's more and more. I mean, Life is Beautiful just booked. Life is Beautiful is a concert with multiple artists. I think Billie Eilish is going to be in this year, and it sold out in one day. A 3-day festival sold out in one day. So I am really thinking that what you said, Eric, is correct, that once we start to move, the crew situation is going to be very difficult to find. And number two, that the gear situation is going to be really difficult, because there's not, right now I can see that my phone is starting to ring off the hook about people wanting to buy used equipment. And I know that that's going to dry up soon enough, as soon as we start booking some shows. And I think that that's what's going to happen. So
well, they're at least optimistic in New York. I was speaking with a friend of mine in the IA earlier in the week, and he said there's a lot of the theaters have crew in now, finally. Not a lot, but they've got enough to be inspecting all of the systems and mechanical systems. You know, New York is the home of the biggest rats in the country. You know, they get into these theaters if they can. You know, cables can be chewed. There's a million things that can go wrong, not to mention simply, you know, looking at, you know, makeup supplies, for example, have been sitting for a year. They could be dry. You know, these are all the little things that you can't take for granted when you come back and, you know, get ready to start rehearsing to get these shows on again. So that's at least a good sign that people are spending money to get these shows ready to go. You know, what the capacity is going to be is another question, but there's no question that those preparations are underway, and something's going to happen probably by June.
Yeah. Now, Greg with Clear Wings in the room right now. So Greg, first of all, I saw your newsletter about the blog of what you're doing with COVID, and I thought it was really impressive. And so tell me what's going on. What's going on from your perspective?
Well, we're just in hold mode, hurry up and wait like everybody else. But I'm noticing some of the stuff Eric is noticing as well. All three of my markets, Milwaukee, Denver, Phoenix, are seeing upticks in the pro shop business, which means people are, stocking up on the consumables that were depleted late last year, et cetera, et cetera. Just pulse checking with some of our regular customers, and we're getting bombarded with quote requests. But, we just can't tell how many of them are fishing expeditions, just trying to see what it will be like and test the waters. So we're not really sure, but we've certainly got the same concerns everyone else has about crew availability, et cetera. Now that, a lot of the full-time people we had moved into other careers. So, I'm just not sure what it's going to look like. I've got gear that's itching to get out of the warehouse. There's no question about that. But who's going to take it out there is the bigger question. So I guess none of us are really going to know until it starts. Somebody opens the floodgate and it gets going. I'm glad to see things are happening. England opening up with no reservations June 21st. No restrictions is a positive sign, and I'm hoping that gets the ball rolling. I was talking to a couple of friends a week or so ago, and this is hearsay, so I'm not sure, how accurate it is, but according to them, all the buses in Nashville are already sold out with deposits on them, so people are having trouble finding buses already for the fall. So that's promising. I guess we're all just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, our reporter from Nashville, Ken Porter, is not here today. I don't know where he is. So let's switch right away to New Orleans. Our reporter on the street, Mr. Steve Sluter. What's going on over there?
Not a whole lot.
Thank you for sharing. And by the way, Greg, you were right. This is the perfect place for innuendo and nonsense. So, all the rumors we could spread, it's really good. By the way, that pink dress you were talking about, Eric, I realize now it's in the cleaners. It'll be back soon enough. And happy Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanks Patrick's Day. That's it. Okay, Steve, back to you.
Well, we're finally starting to get a few bids in, and a couple of low installs that are keeping the doors open. They have, with the vaccine, they've lowered it to 16 if you have any type of issues, diabetes or whatever. They're opening it up for more and more people now. So it seems to be people are starting to get pretty comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I think in Mississippi, I hear that they're giving babies now shots. Anybody can get a shot in Mississippi. If you're in the military, anyone can get a shot that's in the military right now. If you're here in Vegas, if you work for a casino, anyone could get a shot. They just lowered the limit to 55. What's going on in California, David?
I don't think there are any changes as far as shots go. I think they're still at 65. But I wanted to talk about the Grammy Awards. Anybody watch that?
Wasn't that dreadful?
It was really well done. It was like surprisingly well done.
It looked amazing, but the rest of it sucked.
Well, they hardly gave out any awards.
And remember, this is your opinion, so it's a good one.
You know what? The lighting designers did an amazing job, especially with the BTS Korean band up on the roof of that building. Oh my God, it was just beautiful. And
Yeah.
the design of how they did the show in the convention center in the round, that was pretty cool. I kind of liked the outside on West Hall where they did the Talking Heads part. That was kind of cool. But the content was, they should have just, they should have put a slide up and played some Def Leppard, it was just, I was disgusted.
Well,
I think the bar was really low if the Golden Globes were your measure, because the Golden Globes were awful.
They were horrible. No, this was actually
I didn't see the Golden Globes, so sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I thought visually it was really well done. And the fact that they only gave out about 7 or 8 awards meant that there was a lot of entertainment. So I totally enjoyed the Grammys this year. More than a lot of other times.
Yeah, the production was really good, I thought, but
Yeah.
I tuned into watching it, and I realized how out of it I am because I didn't even recognize hardly any of the people that were performing. John Mayer didn't even look like John Mayer to me anymore. He looked different, so but I found that the sound, it actually sounded better than any of the other award shows that I actually happened to tune in while I was switching the channels. But it was pretty good. Ray, did you get to watch it?
I didn't. Nope, totally missed it.
Well, good. You see, that's a good opinion. There you go. We totally missed it. Is there anyone in the room that actually saw it? That's the question. Let's see. By show of hands, who saw it? All right, David, thank you for bringing that up then. Okay. Jeremy saw it too, eh?
That's all. It's possible to have a good looking and a good sounding award show.
Kevin, what about you?
I'm a voting member and have been for years. This was the lowest rated Grammys in history. So it's not unusual that nobody in the room saw it because no one else saw it either. So I think that people are being, I think that, you know, the aspect of an award show when there are no live shows so that they could go out and promote it just seems superfluous. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense why they're having award shows this year, you know? We could just have an award show here. So in our presenting category of our number one spots from the Midwest, our nominees will be Tim McCulloch. All right. Well, hey, the winner, Tim McCulloch. So tell us, Tim, what are you seeing out there as far as you know, your perspective?
From my perspective, what I'm seeing is I have a 3:45 p.m. appointment tomorrow to get my first vaccination. So that's looking up. Work-wise, yeah, I'm getting requests for quotes and stuff like that for things that still are, you know, may or may not happen. Most of the things that look confirming and confirmable are starting in August. I have had July cancellations already. So it's a slippery slope. On the smaller venues in the 1,000, 1,500 seat range and down, some of the work is coming back in May. I've got one quote I sent for a show in April that's out of town where they just need staff. We'll see what that turns into. But yeah, it's slowly ebbing its way back. I do agree with the comment that we may be digging up cemeteries for crew. That or forcing people at gunpoint back to a career they left a year ago. But yeah, since I'm also an IA member, without getting into specifics, and I can only speak for my local, I don't speak for the international or any other local. We're on the little bit of work that's coming back where we've used our hiring hall. We're getting a response rate back that's around 20%. We dispatch via SMS message, via text, and we're getting a 20% response rate. And unfortunately, we're not able to tell if that means people don't have the same phone number anymore, if their phone is turned off. All we know is we send them the texts.
Where are you located, Tim?
I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So word I'm hearing back from a couple other locals in our district are similar. If you haven't been working continuously throughout this, chances are you've lost a good number of people that were either, you know, had families and needed income, or, you know, they all want to work at Home Depots and Lowe's, or people that just simply said, I'm close enough to retirement, I'm just going to retire. So that's what I'm seeing out there. But yeah, the work is coming back, and I'm like the other comments, I see most of the good money work, bands you've heard of, you know, things that people will pay to go see. Yeah, August, September. And I think that's going to probably coincide fairly nicely with right now, the way it looks like vaccinations will be rolling out. So by that time, we should have a good percentage of the population vaccinated. So hopefully this means we can keep going forward and looking better to a last third quarter of this year than we've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. So Brian, our reporter from North Carolina, are you in North Carolina reporting? Where are you reporting from this time, Brian?
I am in North Carolina today.
All right. So what's happening down there? What's happening with the Garth Brooks show?
Postponed again for the fifth time. All the Bank of America stadiums have been postponed out now past August. And this was the first, with the new owner of the Panthers, this was the first time that they were really doing stadium concerts in the stadium. But The governor did relax. He is capping the Hornets to 3,000 fans and to the Hurricanes to 3,000 fans, but all other indoor venues can go up to 30% or 3,000. So they're starting to see a little indoor movement. The town that I'm in, starting May 1, is allowing indoor activities up to 30% of capacity. And they just announced yesterday we normally have an every other week food truck and concert series. They are not doing the food trucks till a later date, and then they're capping the capacity of the 3,000 seating area to 350 people with advanced tickets, and they're going to start to do some concerts. So starting to see some minor stuff opening back up, but it's going. I've actually potentially double booked on May 8th, so starting to see a little activity, but again, it's the smaller variety stuff. One's an outdoor concert, and then the other one's my video wall for a college graduation. So it's starting to see a little bit of activity there. But I've got a question for Dave or the people in California. I was just reading an article that part of opening up the amusement parks, the California Amusement Park Association is requiring its members to modify seating on rides in order to mitigate the effect of shouting. So before Disney or anybody can open up their roller coasters, they have to figure out how to keep the riders from shouting on a roller coaster. So how's that going to be accomplished?
A lot of Valium, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard they asked you not to scream on roller coasters.
I think it's a big sale on gaffer tape.
Just curious,
be the game show.
what's the impetus behind that? What's the neighborhoods are complaining or what?
No, you
disease.
You put out water vapor that goes to the guy behind you,
Okay.
Yeah, that's why no, seriously, the harder you breathe, the more you scream, the more velocity behind what you exhale, the more other things you exhale with it. It's some of that silly science stuff.
Greg, that's where all your perishables are going right now.
It's a new world we're going to live in, I'll tell you.
Got to get flesh colored in now.
Yeah.
It's a small world after all.
Okay, Landy, you're off the island.
So Ray, tell us what's going on with feeding the crews. Are they eating? Are people eating right now? Ray, you're muted. I think Ray is muted, but we'll come back to her as soon as she unmutes. In the meantime, Bruce, what's going on with you? How much work are you getting?
Nothing right at the moment. I have in 2 weeks, I have a small studio gig booked in Phoenix, but that's about it. I'm like I said last time, I'm starting to see stuff happen August, September, October. I've got some bookings, but like everybody else, who knows if the stuff will actually stay intact. I'm hoping. That's about it.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks.
That's really good. Okay, so hey, so now we were talking about how everybody's getting quotes, and we're all starting to see a lot of activity. And we were saying that my opinion is that the used gear is going to be really absorbed very quickly. We have a manufacturer's rep. Tom is here, actually a manufacturer. Tom, are you seeing any activity right now? More people are interested in buying consoles right now, talking to you about what the possibilities of financing, things like that?
Overall, as a group, speaking for Harmon, there's certainly, last month was fairly strong. This month is off to a really good start. That said, not a lot of it is production oriented, but there's some of it. I know Raul and the JBL crew have been staying fairly busy with quotes and inquiries, both for fixed install and a bit of production. Not a lot of production, as you suspect. Consoles again on the smaller side, so UI and SI, an occasional VI for fixed install, but not dramatic yet. But definitely there is an uptick so far the first half of this month.
Yeah. Hey Don, what about you? What are you seeing as a distributor? or a rep, manufacturer's rep. What are you seeing? Is Don still in the room?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the phone's ringing more. Again, I have to say a lot of it's exploratory quotes. I've been reaching out and offering support for design assistance or like Eric was saying, any kind of repairs that might, so I'm feeling like the wheels are kind of squeaking into motion a little bit. I'm pretty excited about, our town, Jan, with the 36 shows opening over the next 3 weeks, down the street. So, but not so much in the area of POs coming in every day, but, definitely more engagement and more excitement. So it's good.
So Ray, what about you? Are we feeding the crews? What's happening?
Well, today we had our very first guest that called us and asked us to remove their podcast, at least temporarily, to get us to edit some things out. Apparently they said some things that got them in trouble. That's our first. But
well, wait till you have me. Don't worry about it. If you thought that was trouble, wait.
What happened to the First Amendment?
Well, it's just one of those things that his client wasn't happy with some of the jokes, because it was really a joke, but they didn't like it. They want it cut out.
Well, we don't do any editing here, that's for sure. Whatever you say is going to be held against you for the rest of your life.
Forever and ever.
Believe me, I'm getting a lot of calls like that myself about some of the things that I've said, saying, hey, keep it up, man. This is better than therapy. I love it. We're listening in. But seriously, folks, the stimulus package is out now, and it's really starting to just get out into the real world, because today I got my $1,400. Now, of course, I just told you that I didn't make that much money last year, but that's okay. But I got my $1,400 today. So that money, the stimulus money, is getting out there. And there is just so many different aspects of that stimulus money that are permeating our system. Eric, you were talking about it last week. You want to give us an update on how you see that and what's happening with the SBA and what we could do?
Well, the biggest news is that for anybody who applied for PPP more than a couple of days ago, you had to check a box that said you basically expressly understand and agree you cannot apply for a shuttered venue operator grant. You will be because it's by tax ID, basically you're out, don't even bother. So there was a tremendous amount of lobbying. Mike Strickland got a lot of people moving along, myself included. I sent 40 FedExes to Washington to various people that were difference makers, and it seems so. According to Mike, a lot of that had a very positive effect. He heard from a number of senators that night, and then that was Tuesday night. By Friday, the amendment was added to the shuttered venue grant that said lighting, sound, staging, and other production company operators are not included in this period. So we've now stepped it up again, and Mike sent out an email a couple days ago, basically listing the 4 people at the SBA who specifically are the ones administering this grant, and encouraging everybody to write a letter. There's also a form letter that is in, I think it was in PLSN or it was one of the trades, that everybody should be sending in literally 10 times a day. I spoke to somebody a while ago at the Office of Standards when that NAICS bullshit came out, and his comment was, they have large teams that read these, so you could send an email every 5 minutes and it's unlikely the same person will ever see it twice. So really, it's like, act like a crackhead and just keep hitting that send button and just do it all day and let everybody keep doing it until we put 1 million or 2 emails in all of their inboxes, then we'll get their attention.
Now, what about the fact that they're saying that there's abilities to get more money than just the PPP?
Well, what's resolved is that if you got the PPP or have applied for the PPP, now you are able to qualify for the shuttered venue grant. Part of the impetus of this was a lot of the venues, they got to the point where it was either go out of business or take the PPP. I mean, it was a Sophie's choice. do I die now or do I die in 4 weeks? And they elected for the 4 weeks and hoped that something would change, and it did. There's a lot of lobbying to get that restriction from getting the grant if you take a PPP. So that was phenomenal for everybody. So, so many people we all know, including ourselves, now have the ability to apply for it. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. The checklist of things that, when you read it, you wonder if you want to fill it out or call up Jack Kevorkian and see if he'll give you a hand. I mean, it's that kind of list, but there is hope for the production industry, but it's still a long way to go. We need a couple of million emails getting to the SBA. So, I mean, we can put up a link to that letter, or if somebody wants to email you for it or email me, no problem. Happy to send copies of it, and the email addresses for the 4 top SBA people that are involved in this. That's what's going to get it done.
Can we get a link on Jan's Facebook, maybe? And if I might interject, anyone who doesn't know the name off the top of your head of Michael Strickland, you really should. You can go to wemakeevents.org and check out all the things that Michael Strickland has been up to, along with a lot of the other advocates for our industry. So if you're not aware of what we're talking about or where to find any more information, that's a good place to start. wemakeevents.org.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it seems there's $1.9 trillion. $1,400 is just not enough for me. I got to figure out a way how to get more of that. So I want us all to get more of it. We put our heads together, I think that we could come up with something. But the reality is there is money out there right now. And and by the way, speaking of money, the IRS announced today that they're going to postpone the April 15th deadline of filing taxes to the 17th now of May, but that's only because the 15th of May fell out on a Saturday. So it's a 1-month extension, but because it fell out on a Saturday. So now if you haven't filed your taxes, you now have a little bit of time to do that. And of course, if you couldn't get your accountant on the phone now, it'll even be harder now. So because now he has more time to deal with things, he just won't have time for you. That's all there is to it. I don't know. Maybe I need a new accountant. All right.
So I got a question for the panel. It's okay, Jan, to go with that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
This is anything goes.
Yeah, all right.
Everything
I just don't want to step on anybody. So I'm just curious if anybody has a feel for where things will go if and when touring picks back up on any scale. Meaning, do we think that the tours are going to be much smaller and the artists recouping money are going to only take 1 truck instead of 4, and maybe even the sound and lighting techs don't have as much leverage as they had before to spec whatever product came out the day before yesterday, and some of the gear that some of us bought right before COVID, that never really made it out into the marketplace because of the lack of rental opportunity. Will some of that stuff be more relevant as a result of, whatever propels the technology to be specified as yesterday's latest and greatest? Anybody got a feel for that?
There's an interesting discussion that went on, and it was in some of the trades where, in essence, the promoters were all saying to the artists, this business of 30 trucks when you can do it in 15 is over, unless you want to pay for it yourselves. So the guarantees, and I'm only telling you what I read and interpreted, it doesn't mean that it's fact. But it seems that the artist guarantees are going to go down, and they've got to they're going to have to kind of roll their sleeves up and shoulder some of the risk that historically the promoters have. And if their budget allows them to push forward on their production because they feel they need it, great. But I think you're going to see a lot of scaling back. I don't mean it's going to go from from a 300-pounder to a pile of bones, but it's certainly, I think it's, you're not going to see 15 trucks when you could get it done with 6 or 7.
Well, and I've heard similar commentary as well, but I guess I wonder what that means for companies like mine. We're not one of the 800-pound gorillas necessarily. We've got, nice sized shops in all the cities, but does that mean that, acts may not troop racks and stacks anymore, or, they'll just carry smaller packages until things get rolled back up, or carry a floor package of lighting instead of the full, Monty?
That's a tough call.
Well, let's see. Let's see who's hearing what. Let's see. Well, Tim, what are you hearing?
Nothing.
Could you say that in more than one word?
No.
Okay. You've got that down to science. Andy, you don't have to raise your hand. Just
Okay.
talk.
I just wondered if anybody had a beat on it. You know, I'm
This ain't the
I'm
office
down here
hours,
in the
babe.
Midwest, you know, so I just curious.
I don't have a beat on it, but I will say one thing that I think we need to factor in, which is we're in a different world. If they pull the trigger tomorrow and say, everybody can get back in the room together, you can get 10,000 people in your arena to watch your show. I think it'll swing. This is what I'm hearing. Okay. It'll swing back and we'll get to, you know, people wanting to be in the same room together because they've been missing it for the last year. But it's also going to swing back in the other direction at some point because we've had hybrid shows or hybrid only, or what Tim and Jan might have heard of before, digital first events, they call them, where the online audience is actually not just periphery to the live event. It's almost the other way around. It can go in that direction. And so I'm not trying to be a naysayer that, you know, because I realize there are a lot of people on this call who make their living by how many trucks might be on the road to some extent. And I do come a little bit from that world, but I'm more involved now in doing studio events where I'm going to a television studio or something like that, or a facility that can do webcasting. I can also measure it by the amount of requests I used to get, which was, hey, can my bass player jam with my guitar player in California and he's in New York? And we say, no, you know, I'm sorry, we're not there yet. And you can't overcome physics, get the band in the same room. But those requests have gone way down because we've evolved over the last year. So I'm sort of throwing this into the mix because I think it's worth discussing in context to acts that are going to go back on the road who've developed a virtual audience in the last year and have played with that. And it remains to be seen. And some bands are great at it and some are terrible at it. So there's also that. You're also at the mercy of what they have behind them in order to put on an event like that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, 10 cents, take it for what it's worth.
Well, we got Chris Carlton in the room now. I don't know if Chris got his vaccination today, by the way. Chris, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. 6 to an
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. I'm driving right now. Yes, I got my vaccination today. I feel much better. I feel more confident. I feel like partying. As a matter of fact, I am going to party.
So what now, have you picked up a tour or something like that? Is that what are you hearing? Did you hear what Greg's question was?
Yeah, not really. I just tuned in a couple minutes ago, but I basically
Then just make up anything. That's right.
Yeah, I've not picked up a tour. We're just picking up little giglets down here in Florida because everybody's down here in Florida right now enjoying this 75 to 80 degree weather, and you know, and the COVID shots are being handed out to everybody from Quebec and Texas, and just get in line with your car and they'll give you a shot. You know, it's we're all coming to the party here. So I think we're about 6 months away from having any real large scale events happening. That's my feeling. You know, I just think that, you know, yeah, you could, you know, a lot of states like Texas are saying, yeah, throw away your mask, let's go. But, you know, there's a lot of people that I know in Texas that are saying, we're not ready for that. And we're not going to go out to a concert right now because, you know, we don't feel that comfortable right just yet. You know, and I know a lot of people down here that have got the vaccination already. And we're starting to get together in small groups, but you know, it's going to be a long time before people in my age bracket feel comfortable being around lots of people. So I really think that we're 6 months away from big tours happening. Whether, you know, whether the technological influences of all the Zoom conferences and all the studio work that's been going on, it's going to put a big dent in the concert business. I think in the short term, yes. I think in the long term, not really, because people want to go to a festival to have a good time, and they're not going to do that with, it's very limited what you can do in your living. So that's my thought on it.
Well, that's a good 2 cents worth.
Yeah, well, I don't think, unfortunately, I had Zoom crash on me during most of it. I don't think that digital event delivery is going to kill the live sound or live entertainment industry. I don't think so. I think what we need to do is look at it as an augmentation. And the other thing we got to remember, this room is overwhelmingly over the age of 50. And whether
speak for yourself, Tim. Speak for yourself. Really,
happy
seriously. I am nowhere
happy
near 50.
70th, Jan. Happy 70th. We can all sing happy birthday for you if you like.
No, don't do that. Please don't embarrass me.
We know that works on Zoom.
That doesn't include me.
Yeah, we have some other exemptions here as well, but yes.
Chris Brozio's only a baby there. Jeff Horn's baby. Jeremy's a baby. Look, Tom's only turning 30.
You're looking at 40-year-olds calling them babies. I love this, Jan. No, I don't think digital events are going to supplant or take away live events. I think that what's going to happen is that as production professionals, we are going to be working to more in tandem with digital event producers than we have been. And there are acts that have actually done fairly well in the pandemic, and they have now got a large group of fans and a following that have come to appreciate the production standards and details that they got over the last year that could not physically exist in the real world. So I think we're going to wind up working together a lot more than have been in production events. And I think the people that understand how digital events work will be better poised to cooperatively make a profit off of those events, even while providing traditional services.
So to that point, a couple of the festivals that I've been talking to, they want to bring in that digital aspect because they don't feel this fall people are willing to get, there's not going to be people that want to jam 3,000 people into a 2,000-foot space where the fire marshal's going crazy. But they're trying to figure out, because these are money raisers, they're looking at selling tickets to go to the digital side of it. So they're looking at selling a ticket or paying a fee to get into that. So, that's bringing a little bit more of a twist to us to make sure we got the bandwidth and everything in there while we're in the middle of a park. And it means I've got to bring somebody else in that's going to be on my board and going out that direction. Plus then the video feed that goes with it too. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. But one interesting, I'll switch this here. One of the guys that does lighting for me was hit up yesterday by a group out of Denver that's getting ready to do a national dance tour. And they are trying to pull their entire team. So they're going to have a mobile bubble. So all the lighting, all the audio, everything's going to be, it's going to be the same crew traveling all over the United States, staying together in the same hotels, same buses, and break it that way. And they're talking about 4 to 6 truckloads a year going out for that. It's just strictly dance, no singing.
Mm-hmm. We have Jeff Check in the room. I don't know if if his mic is on or not. Jeff, if you could hear me, from TC Furlong in the middle of this country. Do you have an opinion on this? No, I guess not. All right. He must just have tuned in and he's listening in. But if he does come in, we'll get him. Mike Brown is in his car. What was that?
He tuned in and he dropped out.
Yes. Well, he's listening in, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Mike Brown just came in, and Mike's been working like a crazy man. He's in his car. What are you seeing, buddy?
I actually think, just to tail on to the comments I just tuned in and heard, that yes, I think some aspects of digital or virtual events are here to stay, because now it just became another class of ticket, right? So, if you happen to be, in England when the Who are playing Wembley Stadium, then you can try and go to that. But if you don't have the wherewithal to pop for airfare and all that, oh, well, by the way, for $89.95, you can watch it at home and we'll send you a t-shirt or whatever. So I think it's just another class of ticket, and I think it's here to stay, particularly because as everything starts to kind of open up again, and some people do go back to the office. Yes, there will be some people who just stay at work from home forever, but there are going to be some people going back to the office. There's all this bandwidth that I mean, the country and companies like Zoom and Amazon and Google created, and they're going to be looking for a way to monetize that bandwidth that isn't being used anymore because more people have gone back to school, back to the office, etc. So yeah, I think that's staying for sure. There's no change in that. It's just going to be another class of ticket, another opportunity to catch an event without actually being at the event.
Mm-hmm. Now, Chris is in the video aspect of it with Disguise. How are you seeing it, Chris?
A little bit of the same. I kind of look at it differently. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing augmented reality for bands like BTS and other people, Katy Perry. And a lot of the audience, a lot of the younger audience are just so used to watching everything on this screen or on video screens themselves. You'll catch them looking at the IMAX screens. I look at event producers utilizing that digital aspect and bringing augmented reality into this more and more. And the people at home are going to get a different show. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not, but they're going to get a different environment, a different look than the people in the stadium. So the people in the stadium may get the big boy sound system, but if you're not into that, you could stay at home, as Mike put it, for $89.95 and you get a free t-shirt, and you're going to get all these digital elements that are going to be added on top of what you're seeing at the stage in the stadium.
Well, yeah, I think that there's going to be a hybrid situation, but what might keep that from being overwhelming would be the fact that the venues are going to want to get a piece of the streaming action. And that could keep it cost prohibitive for that to be a reality, because
what's the model, right? Is it so many dollars per feed? If so, build that into the ticket cost.
Well, there's potentially there's workarounds. If you bring your own bonded cellular, for example, then you're not going through the venue's infrastructure.
That's true.
Now they could conceivably hit you back up for that, saying, hey, you're not using our service, we're going to still charge you,
sure,
something. But the hotels sometimes play that game when you bring in outside production.
Yeah,
but
and I know that we're doing some work with a very large 5G provider to do some of this right now. So to your point, you bring in your own 5G truck, you're not utilizing anyone's bandwidth, at that point.
But the difference
other thing,
is,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
This goes back years ago. I was involved with a Janet Jackson show at Radio City, and the day before load-in in my shop, I don't know, there were probably 4 trailers loaded, and we got the phone call that it was dead because Radio City said, oh, by the way, our fee to say live at Radio City, just that one sentence, is $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So for these artists to be able to say, well, we are live from MetLife Stadium, and say, no, you're live from somewhere. You want to say MetLife Stadium, MetLife gets a taste, whatever that is. I mean, this is completely new territory to work out. It's not a new concept. It's this landscape and how it's applied is, really what the issue is. And once one does it, they're all going to, the venues have their own associations. And I understand they're looking for revenue like everybody is. And there's a logic to it. The question is just how do the two sides come to some accord? That's really what it boils down to.
Sure.
Well,
Right,
the other
but
thing,
there's also
the other
there's a
thing that enters in,
technical issue too, in that if you're shooting multiple cameras of 4K and you've also got whatever audio, however many channels, can the average venues upspeed handle that? Because that's what I think people would do is they say, okay, well, my tour requires dedicated 85 megs per second upload for our feed. You need to prove to us, Mr. Venue Operator, that you can provide that reliably, even if there are suddenly 60,000 people in there trying to hit your Wi-Fi, or we're bringing our own truck.
I think you're bringing your own truck, period, because
the other thing,
you don't want people stepping on your bandwidth. You want to control it completely.
The other issue is labor. Once again, putting my IATSE hat back on, most of the agreements I've negotiated in the last 15 years all have commercial use policy. And so if you're delivering a product off-site that's produced at that venue that is more than a certain length or not part of legitimate news gathering or news coverage, or a commercial for the venue for the artist, we get a commercial rate, which is currently in one of my venues, a $6 an hour premium. So that becomes an issue. And the question will become one of, why would the promoter bear that cost if the promoter's not getting a piece of the profit?
Yeah.
So haven't we built this structure in the past with like pay-per-view boxing? To me, that seems like a lot of these negotiating pieces have been worked out before because it's both a live and a virtual event.
The issue will come when this becomes a surprise to the people involved. 12 years ago, I took a class from Robert Scovel, and at that time they were talking about being able to send stem mixes in video somewhere. Someone attending the show could go to the merch table, buy their t-shirt, buy the video that will be available by the time they get home. The show at and stop that at that time was because that turned into a commercial use of the venue, and labor got money that nobody was planning on paying. And so that put an end to that at that time. I'm sure, like you say, we do this with other things. It's the idea that a concert has not been typically a pay-per-view thing. And when it is, it's been specifically known for that. But I'm suggesting that if you're going to pay my crew an extra $6 an hour for run of show from pre-call to the beginning of loadout, that's an expense that someone's going to have to pay for, and nobody will want to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Bruce, what do you think about that? And this is going into your neck of the woods right now, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Who else wants to say something?
Yeah.
Where's Bruce located?
Los Angeles.
Because I heard you say you had something headed to Phoenix, and I was just curious if you were in our neighborhood there or not.
Well, I'll be at Cox Studios. Our client, I do corporate shows pretty much only at this point. If I do entertainment, it's because it's a corporate event that has entertainment, that kind of thing. But it's an association thing, and they wanted us. We've been doing them all in Los Angeles, and this client wanted us to come to Phoenix. And I think it's because there's somebody local on the radio or on the television there that they want to MC the show. So the client found us Cox Studios, which, we're finding out more about this little place, and we're not really sure if we want to be. What's ending up happening is I'm bringing a QL console, and we're bringing video players and recorders and everything, because Cox Studio is probably a nice little studio, but they don't have a lot of stuff. I get the impression that they're sort of it's Cox cable people, and they have some kind of contract where they have to do public, like the public channel on your local public access. So their stuff is pretty basic.
Well, if you find yourself in need when you get there, some of my Phoenix folks are listening right now, so they'd certainly be happy to support you if you need something.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Why don't can you shoot me an email or a text or something with your info on it, and
Sure.
and I'll put it in my file.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you put it in the chat, you could grab it out of the chat.
Or
But I
out
was about to say there's not going to be any shortage of people who are supplying rental equipment in this room. That's for sure.
Hey, I just have a quick question. When you're talking about, just because video is not my world, but it's something that we may be looking at the venue, when you say bringing in a truck to be able to handle that kind of upload, how is that getting from the truck to the people then? Are you connected to some satellite or something? Or how does that actually, without getting really involved, like how is that possible?
Well, you can take it direct from the street, so bringing your own service, or you can 5G. The promise of 5G is that then this is all just a cellular service.
Oh, okay.
That you're managing.
So you can do it through cellular towers. Okay.
Yeah,
What we've been
5G
doing is
towers.
we've been recording it all and then broadcasting at a later date. So all the gigs that I've done in the studios, absolutely oddly, none of it has gone live. One of them did a Dell event.
Most everything we're doing on the virtual production is live to tape and then pushed out.
Right.
We have one live show. Well, actually, even the Grammys. So Disguise was powering the Grammys of this past weekend, and the opening was live to tape, and then the actual show itself was Disguise running the backgrounds, and that was obviously live, but there was no virtual production as part of the main aspect.
Well, I was just on a Zoom call last night for an hour and a half with the promoter, which is actually United Way, and we're doing a 10-band, I call it the hair band show because it's like Dokken and Firehouse and all those guys and Lita Ford and, you know, all the bunch of them. But it turned into a 2-day festival. So it's 5 bands each day. It's a cheap ticket. It's only $90 for both days. But she's like, well, I got to get to like 3,000 tickets. And I'm like, man, our field can handle it. But it's the same thing everybody's saying. Are people ready to come out and be in a crowd like that? You know, she's only got 1,000 tickets sold and it's 2 months out. It's the first weekend of June. So like I have a meeting this week or the beginning of next week with a video guy that just moved into the area. It's got a bunch of video stuff. He wants to work with us and sell advertising. So I'm trying to get all this info that I can to actually present that to United Way as another option. Say, hey, this is a 2-day event. Maybe we can sell, you know, $60 tickets and have it streamed to your house or something. And to pick up that crowd, that's those people that are not ready to be in the crowd. I mean, it's only 2 months out.
Head though is that the artists in this case were all hip in the 80s, right? Which means that they're all the people that want to go see them are about my age, and I'm not wanting to get into a crowd like that for any particular reason. But you find some 25-year-old who wants to go watch Taylor Swift or whoever, or
Right.
Billie Eilish is probably a better example. I bet you could fill a stadium with a bunch of 25-year-olds.
Right.
Well, like I said, Life is Beautiful. That's the headliner, and it's already sold out. It's sold out like instantaneously, and it's an outdoor event. Jeremy, you're doing some streaming. What's your opinion on this?
Well, so we're pretty much smaller scale compared to what a lot of people are doing, but we're bringing in some bands to a theater here in the Bay Area, in Fairfield, California, and I do a lot of corporate AV, so this is the fun stuff coming from a sound world. So we're bringing in some pretty big bands. We had Fantastic Negrito, who just won a 3rd Grammy. And we did him about a month ago, and we're going to do him again at the end of March. And what we're doing is we're bringing a band in on a big stage. There's maybe 20 people in the whole venue, and we're doing 8 camera shoots, full sound on a Meyer rig that's turned halfway down, and just to get us some love out in the audience. But yeah, it's working pretty well, and we're trying to bring some of that into the corporate world as well.
Jeremy.
Now,
just
Gabe,
on a
what
side
about
note-
you? I'm sorry, Chris,
I
what
was
is
just
it?
say on a side note, Jeremy, you and I should talk. I'm in Sacramento. I'm literally waving the 40
I think
miles.
I might have met you from the rep point of view before, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm in San Francisco, and I
hey,
feel like we've connected before somehow, Jeremy. But
I think it was office hours. I think it might have been office
might have been
hours
it,
with you
yeah.
and Jeremy.
And me
But-
too. Also, Andrew, it's been a long time, but it's good to see you on here. We did a couple shows with Sound on Stage a long time ago.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Been a long
George.
Yep.
The one joke I'll have about that is, and I think I can say it in this company, is
Oh, yeah.
I did one season at Sound on Stage, but I don't think I smoked enough pot, so I didn't get asked back. I have since worked for George, though, at Sound Image, so I could say that at least.
So, Gabe, what are you seeing from where up where you are?
I mean, it's there was actually funny. There was a rumor that sort of leaked out the other day. One of the big concert promoters up here who do a festival in Golden Gate Park called Outside Lands. It's pretty big. There was a leak that their website had been revised to show some revised dates for later this summer, and that happened just a couple days ago. And people screen captured it, and then they took it down and changed the website back to the way it was that said, "Thank you, we'll see you in 2022." But there's some rumors they're going to probably potentially try to pull that off in the fall here in San Francisco, which would be a big thing. But yeah, I don't know. Chris, I got to ask you though. Tell us about the big news about the acquisition with Carlyle Group. We're all of us who buy Disguise products. We're all very curious to hear about what that means for us as customers with Carlyle's involvement in NEP And also Epic's, they bought part of the company also,
Yeah,
is that
so
right?
that to me is probably the bigger point. Well, first of all, we all had to have implants put in right here at the base of our neck. No, the fact that Epic now owns, and we've been dealing with Epic since June, but they now officially own part of the company. Obviously, Carlisle owns the lion's share. The funny part is that the relationship between NEP and us, they were customers prior to, and they'll remain customers, but there is no, it's two different groups. So Carlisle is a big company and there's different managers. That team at NEP is managed by a different group than our group. So there's no collusion. There's nothing like that that's going to happen. Obviously, they're cousins now, I guess. So, but we're, as far as what it means to our customers, right now, no changes. I think longer term, what it means is that we're able to hire on people. So we're talking about staffing across the board, and we're now able to take advantage of people that have been let go and bringing them on board on Disguise. Some really hot shoe programmers and workflow specialists. So you'll start seeing that through our support system. We probably won't hire too many more salespeople, but you'll definitely see our support network grow within the company, which just means it's better. The product itself is better supported. Longer term product wise, we had our roadmap set before Carlisle bought us. They really just bought the vision of what the company was. And that was probably the biggest statement out of the whole thing. They saw where we're going. They saw what we've done so far in the XR world. And what we bring to the table, our relationship with Epic that was already started, we just firmed it up, and we're looking at this as a pivot point to really, frankly, to dominate into that virtual production world and bring our workflow even further along.
Now, two things, Chris, because I know you think that everybody knows what you do.
Oh, sure.
But just really quickly, we're talking about Epic, the game giant.
So what happens is, and I did that little virtual production thing, which, by the way, I'll throw a link in here. We've got
Well, before you say that, just give us a really quick, brief outline of what Disguise does. Just really quick.
Disguise
and then
video
go on to that.
Video server company. So we manage the pixels before they go up on the LED wall or the projector. So prior to all of this, we started off doing pixel management video for U2, Massive Attack, other bands starting 20 years ago. As this workflow has gotten better and as things have changed, about 3 years ago, we started developing this virtual production workflow, which allows you to take a render engine. That could be Notch, Unity, or Unreal. Unity and Unreal are used for video games. Unity is what's used on Snapchat for all the stupid ears and noses that people put on their snapshots and their selfies that they take. We're utilizing those same render engines in this environment. And what it allows us to do is it's a multifaceted thing, but you need a render engine, you need a compositor, which is what we provide, and you need camera tracking. So we know where that camera is in space at any moment in time. When that camera moves, we have talent and the camera moves, we're now able to move the background behind the talent and keep the perspective, what's called the parallax going.
Basically, you create the real Roger Rabbit. That's it. In other words, he creates a virtual background, virtual reality, 100% 360 that you can insert a human being. So it looks like wherever you want to be, that's where you are.
The best example, and the one that everyone beats my head with, is The Mandalorian, which doesn't use Disguise, by the way, but Mandalorian is shot with a virtual background. It's a huge 270-degree LED volume. And the reason why they went that way instead of green screen is because the main character wears a titanium suit that would reflect nothing but green if they're on a green screen stage. So because of that, that whole workflow got further developed, and now it's being promoted everywhere. And then COVID helped push it along and everything else. But that's what Disguise does in a nutshell.
Well, there you go. You got your $50,000 worth of advertising. We'll send the bill out in the morning.
Please do.
Okay.
What I was going to say, and I'll put it in the notes here. If you haven't seen XR and if you want to just gather a little bit of information, I think it's the end of next week. We're doing a little webinar, webcast, whatever you call it, from the stage in LA. Eli is going to do it, and he's going to go through step by step what XR is, the disguise workflow, but more importantly, what this all means. So I'll throw that in there before I'm going to have to step off here in about 15 minutes, but I'll throw that in the notes so you guys can ping it. If you'd like to join, it's free. And yeah, it's just more advertising for us anyways.
It's a very cool technology, and if you have Chris was involved with video mapping with me with a project that we did, the city of Redwood, and so it's really state of the art. It's artificial intelligence, bringing it in, combining life and artificial intelligence at the same time.
Anytime I'm involved, Jan, it's artificial intelligence.
Yes, there you go. And speaking of artificial intelligence, by the way, I spoke with Marty Hom on the phone, and you might remember a few weeks back, Marty was in the room. Marty, of course, the tour manager for the Rolling Stones, and he is working on a testing situation where people could be tested. And I spoke with him today, and it's really moving ahead, and it uses artificial, and I have to look at my notes. It uses artificial intelligence, and Dell is involved. The Dell Computer Company is now involved. They're basically going to be in Lidditz. They're bringing this whole testing situation to Lidditz, where they're going to start to run actual test programs. And the idea is that you walk up to this machine, you open your mouth, and within 20 seconds, they could give you a result, whether you've got COVID or not. And it's up to right now, it's up to 89% accurate. But once they do the testing and add more information into the AI, they're saying it's going to be in the high 90s. And Marty is doing this, and in 2 weeks, he's going to come back on the show and talk about it. So that could really make it a lot easier for people like you and me who would be afraid to be in crowds. All of a sudden, that would take that fear factor away. 24 seconds is not a lot of time. Wouldn't you agree, guys? Okay, yes, by the sound of silence, I know you're all agreeing with everything I say. Well, never mind. Hey, we have a working engineer in the room. We have somebody who's actually working right now. He's come in from a site survey, and you all know him, and as I know and love him, as Kenny Newman. Ken, give us a report on what happened today.
Yeah, we did a site survey in Malibu for just mentioned Dell Computers. Well, there's Dell Computers is doing some kind of a pre-tape in Malibu at some small theater there. So we had to check the place out and make sure it was what it said it was.
Well, there you go. What else you want to say about it?
It's secret.
Oh, wait, well, sorry to even bring it up then. Hey, hey, could you say that we are live now? Okay, would you say that?
I think you're live. I don't know about me. I tell you what, it was they gave us lunch before the site survey. We actually went to a restaurant and had lunch outside. I think that's the first time I've had lunch with a group of people in a long time. That was so amazing. It was really good.
Yeah, that's something, it's the little things that we forget about, while we're doing, while we're here doing showbiz. All right. So who in the room hasn't had anything, hasn't had an opportunity to share something that they would like? Anybody here? Let me look who haven't we heard from today? We've heard from everybody. Oh, Ken Porter's in the room, our reporter from Nashville. Tell us what is going on right now with Bonnaroo.
They've released they're going to do like a 2-month festival every weekend type stuff, events down there. Do the social distancing around at 8-foot squares all over. I can't remember how many people they're going to have, but they're starting to sell tickets. So it's a go. C3 is putting it together. C3, it's part of, they own the site.
Now, am I to assume that things are really going well for you because now that you've got a haircut, new glasses, is this the new world?
Well, it's the same glasses. I need to get better because I can't see you. You're kind of fuzzy, but
yeah, I'm fuzzy even if you were wearing good glasses.
But there's been a lot of stuff going on. It suddenly got pretty busy. All of a sudden, everybody's decided it's time to go. So it's a lot of stuff prepping and packing and trying to get through Easter, and then just after that, and get it out.
Am I correct? Are you still at your office? Because normally you'd be sleeping on a couch during this part of the show.
I'm still at the office. I was on the forklift today and moving stuff and packing and other stuff today.
Now, Greg was saying this earlier, and a few people were acknowledging it, including myself, that we're getting more calls right now for more quotes. Are you seeing the same thing down in Nashville?
Oh yes, there's a lot going on. A lot of quotes and a lot of work coming in.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I have right now is getting people to come back.
Right. Not that I was paying any attention to Greg's question, but if I believe correctly, what he was saying is he wants to know what your thought process is right now of whether the tours are going to be bigger, whether they're going to be smaller, whether you're going to find people to work the jobs. What are you thinking about as far as all aspects of it, including the equipment side of it?
It's going out kind of smaller, medium size.
By the way, Greg, how did I do? Did I get the question right?
Yeah, that was close. I was just trying to get a handle on whether or not acts are going to try and recoup lost revenues the same as everybody else by scaling the tours down and picking up racks and stacks and lighting rigs regionally instead of trooping it cross country-ish.
They're basically going to go out kind of smaller. You're going to see a lot of kind of pickup stuff, but you're going to see more of not as many gags, maybe not as much set. You're going to see more of a, one truck, two truck, trailer behind the bus stuff. You're going to see get out. They got to get out and get cash flow going. It's not to make a recouping. They just got to get stuff moving again and not worry about where they are in the past because they're trying to get through everything. There is a kind of demand, and because a lot of them are having to put bands back together and stuff like that, and how the musician's going to be, what they're going to have when they go back out, what they need when it comes out.
Now, somebody mentioned earlier that the buses seem to be all getting booked now. Are you seeing that?
I'm seeing buses around town. People are coming back in and stuff there. Haven't seen them at the Kroger on Wednesday night yet, but I'll find out tonight when I drive home.
Are we talking about the supermarket, or is the Kroger's an event?
No, Kroger is right there off the interstate. A lot of times, usually the way you tell in the season used to be the times I could drive by the Kroger on Wednesday night and there'd be anywhere from 10 to 12 buses in the parking lot picking up people, loading bus stock and getting ready to leave. And then the parking lot be full of road cars and they had no place to park to go to the grocery store.
You've heard it here first.
Does the
Kroger now?
I've heard of mention of Kroger in the past, Ken. So does Kroger condone that activity?
Depends on the Kroger and the manager and all that stuff. There's complaints.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I would have thought they would pick Walmart because Walmart seems to be okay with motorhomes staying in their parking lots overnight.
To a point, but it's the time and where and what kind of leaving point. I'm not sure. Actually, there needs to be more of a better thing to take care of cars. Somebody needs to come up with a leaving spot. They have like where you look and you can leave from. The issue that we're having too, as part of the bus issue, is with the electronic logbooks. You're having the problem where if you got to go to, say, Dallas tonight, you have to get a relief driver to come in, pick up the bus, get it around, and get it to a point when your real driver gets in the bus at the edge of town, and then he can make the 12-hour run or 11-hour run to Dallas within his time before he loses time and have to get a relief driver. So they're doing front end relief drivers going out of town a lot of times.
Yeah, I could see the activity going on. Basically, Fauci said that he could see a return to normal by early fall. Basically, the something along the lines of 70 to 85% of the United States population can be vaccinated before before the end of the year for sure. Of course, 70% would give us herd immunity, and the other aspect is that now we've got to get there's going to be enough vaccination for everyone to have it who wants it, but there are people that are anti-vaxxers now, and that they are going to be fighting it. And I don't think that there's anything that anyone could do to create a situation where once they believe that the vaccine is going to hurt them, because it's not real, it's their imagination. But how do we get those people to take their vaccine?
We don't.
You know,
There's,
mean,
I,
what's your
I get the
line,
impression
Jan?
from recent news stories that there's more of them than we think, though. Right, Jan?
well, I don't know. I think it's kind of, I think it's, I think enough of us who are getting vaccinated, all of a sudden, now they say that if we get vaccinated, that we will not catch COVID, right? Because basically, if you take the Johnson & Johnson within a couple of weeks, the Moderna, you need 2 shots, the Pfizer, you need 2 shots, and basically you're protected. The reason they want you to wear a mask after that is so that you don't spread it in case it's asymptomatic in you. Is that correct?
I just saw something in the trades the other day that Larry Gatlin got COVID after his second vaccination. So who knows?
Well,
At least he's
the first question I
alive.
would have in any of those situations where somebody gets COVID after having been vaccinated is, was it within the 2-week window after his second shot, or was it after that 2-week window? Because they say you're not completely immune or as immune as you're going to be until the 2 weeks after the second shot, or in the case of the Johnson & Johnson, 2 weeks after the shot.
There's
Also,
Also,
don't
is a variant.
don't they say that 75 to 90% chance of not getting it, depending on which vaccine you're getting? I mean, it's not 100%. So
Yeah, I heard it
not
was
even
only
close.
84
And
too.
even then, if you get it, I mean, you can get it, and the thing is, the vaccine will help the your symptoms and everything that happens to you be considerably less, so that you're not going to need to go to the hospital. You're not going to need to have medical attention. You're just going to ride it out.
Well, it would seem to me, though, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like that once I get that second vaccine, I know I'm not going to die. So, it's okay with me. And if somebody doesn't want to get that vaccine and I'm going to live, should I really care? I mean, I would like to, I can't convince them against their will to get the shot. We can't hold them down like it's on death row and say, all right, strap them down, give them the injection. You can't do that, right? Am I right or wrong? Or can we?
I think we should. We
Right.
should.
But there are people who are anti-vaxxers are one group, but you also have people who are vaccine resistant. And that is 10% of the population across the world. And you don't know what vaccine you're going to be resistant to until you get what it is you've been vaccinated against. I mean, myself and my daughter are examples of that. Neither one of us will ever be immune to the chicken pox, ever. She gets the vaccination, she gets the chicken pox. She gets the booster, she gets the chicken pox. She gets tested for antibodies. She doesn't have them. So there's always that chance that somebody who's trying to do the right thing is still going to get sick. So when you say, should we care? I think we should care. I think we should. There's a percentage of the population that's just not going to be resistant.
So Jan, I look at it from this standpoint too. You still got 10, 20% of the population who smokes. If you get me around a cigarette, I choke up. I can't stand the smoke. That's the reason I had to quit doing bar gigs, just because I couldn't handle the cigarette smoke. But you still got that population who smokes. They're taking a risk on their own handle in their own life, just like these non-vaxxers are. But we're a loving country. We'll get along with them. Just it's a choice that the people make.
Yeah, I
A
guess
lot of people
you're right.
seem to be making that choice based on political party affiliation lately, which I think is totally nuts.
Well, depending on how you look at it, that could be a self-solving problem eventually. You were not going to convince people that this is a good idea if they don't already kind of think so. What I've noticed is I have a good friend whose family is largely involved in healthcare, and I was surprised at a number of them, particularly nurses, who said, we're not going to take that vaccine. And their reasons were very similar to a lot of other vaccine reluctant people. And these are medical professionals, many of whom were treating COVID patients. But they had their own questions that they felt were not being answered. One by one, most of the nurses I'm acquainted with who were not going to get vaccinated have been or plan to very soon. I think they've seen that people aren't dropping dead, their arms aren't falling off and all of that. But I think Ray is correct. There are people who medically do not benefit or to whom almost any form of vaccination could be detrimental. And there are people that simply won't develop antibodies regardless of whatever vaccine they receive. And it is for those people, the people that can't take a vaccination, that's the reason we still wear our masks. It's for those people, a courtesy to them that we practice more, I call it respectful distancing, particularly if, you have any question that you may not be feeling well. So I think those things could stick around with us a little bit or perhaps even longer. But yeah, there are people that cannot, I think that's a distinction, cannot be vaccinated or who do not benefit from it. And that's for the reason the rest of us need to be.
Yeah, but those people are different. Those people that want to do it, but it won't make a difference, that's different than those people that don't want to do it.
And frankly, Jan, if they don't want the vaccination, we can't force them down and stick a needle in them. Well, we might like to, but I have some other things besides needles. I'm thinking pitchforks. But, my thought about those individuals are, if they get sick, I feel badly for them. And that's the limit of my empathy, because we provided you with multiple opportunities. There's a joke that some people may remember. There was a flood coming, and the water was getting a little high, and a truck came by to pick up this gentleman in his cabin. And the gentleman rejected their help. He said, "No, leave me here. The Almighty will provide for me." And the water kept coming up, and eventually he was on the roof of his cabin, and they came by in a boat, and they said, "Get in the boat." And he said, "No, the Almighty will provide for me." Finally, he was climbing a tree, and a helicopter came by and dropped a ladder and said, "Climb the water." And he goes, "No, will provide for me." So finally, of course, he drowns. And when he gets to the Almighty, he goes, "What happened? What happened?" And he goes, "Look, buddy, I sent you, a truck, a boat, and a helicopter. What more do you want me to do?"
The joke of the week, and you lead me
and
into
that's
thinking
no joke. That has a real parallels in real life at this point.
Yeah.
It really does.
I actually see it as this joke. So Johnny's first day in school, right? And so the very first day in school, so he goes into the class and the teacher says, "Johnny, here's your milk." And Johnny says, "Thank you very much for the milk." And then she says, "Johnny, and here's your cookie." And Johnny says, "Oh, I don't want that fucking cookie." The teacher's shocked, unbelievably shocked. She brings him to the principal office. The same thing exact happens. So they call the parents, and mother says, "Okay, Johnny, here's your milk." And Johnny says, "Thanks, Mom. Great." And "Johnny, here's your cookie." I said, "Ma, I don't want that fucking cookie." And so the principal looks at her and says, "See?" And the mother says, "Fuck him. Don't give him the cookie." And that is what I see right now with the vaccine. Fuck them. They don't want that vaccine. Fuck them. But if
No
you could
cookie
take
for
the
you
vaccine,
today.
you should. What was that, Tim?
I wonder here's a silly question. I know this is kind of stupid, but could we as a country, or could the government decline to provide services for people, healthcare services for people that don't take the vaccine? What do you think?
It's been tried with the smoking industry and it didn't work.
We have this for federal money. You have this pesky thing called the 14th Amendment.
Well, there's such a thing as called guinea pigs too. Maybe we can get them in that aspect. But look,
guinea pigs weren't too good in Tuskegee. That's part of the reason for some of the vaccine reluctance.
Was that guinea pigs or gerbils? I don't remember. I get confused.
They basically said, "Oh, sorry about this disease. We're going to secretly give you and then not treat you for."
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if that translates into a small furry animal or not, but it seems like bad public policy.
Well, it seems to me that we've covered a lot of ground today, and a lot has been covered. We covered the stimulus, but we didn't really get into the American Rescue Plan and how it's going to affect us. So we have something to talk about next week or when we go off the air. So I think we've been on the air long enough. Those people out there, before we do go, is there anybody in the room that wants to say anything to anybody out there? You want to wish somebody a happy birthday or anything like that? Bruce, take it away.
Yeah, early on we were talking about tax stuff, and I had, who knows how real this is, but I had a friend of mine who sent all his tax stuff in to his tax person, And the tax person said, which I got a little bit of an inkling from the people we use, is that there is so much that has changed in the tax law for 2020, and these tax people have not gotten the updates from the government yet to do the computer stuff to put all your taxes in. So I'm wondering if the due date moving to May, if that's enough, and maybe they'll change it, because at this point there's a lot of people that aren't able to get their taxes done because their tax people don't have the information from the government yet to be able to do it.
Well, the other problem is the IRS has trailers sitting in a parking lot full of tax forms sent in, and they don't have time, the people to get through them. They just put them in a trailer to get them out of the way.
Yeah, so there's other things going on here. This is not a normal tax year, because there's the PPP and there's unemployment, and then there's the state added unemployment. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm sure.
Well, I was just at my accountant's yesterday, and it's the same thing. I just got my Schedule C done so I could get my PPP, and that is kind of a sidetrack, but that was a joke because the whole paperwork that I filled out, the big thing about the second draw was that you had to show at least, 25% loss in one of your quarters. None of that information was on the paperwork that I filled out. It just asked for me the things and I had to attach it. But I'm like, this is a joke. Like, why is it not doing a comparison right on here? But anyways, when the accountant was cool enough to get my Schedule C done right away, and she said that, yeah, she can't file anything in there right now. It's all shut down. They have to redo the whole software. And the other issue is that, Biden just passed that thing where he's forgiving the first 10,000 of your unemployment.
Right.
So I said, well, what about all those people that already filed? She goes, oh yeah, that's a big mess. We have to kind of redo that stuff. They're going to have to do amendments. And I'm like, well, so it's a real fiasco with all that going on, which is, and the joke with the SBA to me was like, they made the cutoff March 31st, but it didn't even follow. Why wasn't it April 31st? So people had a chance to get their taxes done. Okay, we'll give them 15 days after the deadline for taxes to get your paperwork in. But that was done before your taxes were even due. The whole thing is just like so goofy.
So here is the other funny SBA thing from the last round. When I put in for the SBA loan, that turns into a grant or whatever, right? The night we submitted everything, we were sitting at the kitchen table and the phone rang, and it was like 7 o'clock at night, and it was a guy from the SBA, and of course, I didn't trust him. There's this phone call out of the blue, but when we started to talk, we basically confirmed that he was who he was and I was who I was, and so everything started to be okay. And then I said, what am I supposed to do about the Schedule C thing? Because we haven't done our taxes for the year before yet, or for last year yet. And he said, do you have your 2019 taxes, or 18? I forget, it was last year. And I says, yeah. He says, well, go online and print out a new one, fill it out, duplicate everything, and just put this year's date on it, and that'll be fine. And that's what I sent him, and that's all it took.
Well, and I talked to a lady.
It was the weirdest thing I ever.
I talked to a lady at SBA a few months ago before the second round came out, and she told me that the biggest influx of claims that they had ever had historically was 400,000 claims for Katrina.
Oh my God.
And this particular situation has, at the time, now this was months ago, they had over 7 million claims to deal with, and they couldn't have possibly hired enough people and gotten them all trained and all of that to deal with that kind of influx of volume in any kind of short order.
I just think this year's tax thing is just going to be a total cluster. And don't be surprised if they start extending it, like keep adding months, because I don't know how they're going to swim out of this in any reasonable amount of time. We could be not getting last year's taxes in until next year just because they don't have their shit together yet. No fault of anybody's in particulars, but oh my God, what a mess. I couldn't even imagine having to deal with it, So anyway, little story to add to the pile of tax stuff.
Just be glad you're not in the accountant field. We're in the entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I have another joke, but we've already done one joke of the week too many.
I want to give another shout out to wemakeevents.org. If you're not familiar with our industry advocates, please go to wemakeevents.org. Not only is that Michael Strickland's information there, but all the other industry advocates as well.
Good. Anybody else want to share anything before we we're not going to leave the room, but we're going to shut off Facebook and YouTube. Is there anybody that wants to say anything at all before we go?
I find it interesting.
Please get vaccinated. Come on, get vaccinated. Do it. Just do
Yeah,
it.
don't be like Johnny with the cookie. That's it.
And even with my vaccine resistant story, I had my first shot 3 weeks ago. I get my second shot next week.
Very
And
good.
Is it possible that you'll be not vaccine resistant to this vaccine?
So in discussing that with my doctor, what I'm going to do is go to them 2 weeks after getting my second shot and get a test for antibodies.
Very good. Well, we wish you only the best of luck for sure. And we hope that, everybody stays safe and healthy until at least next week when we come back. Remember, if you like it, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, still give us a thumbs up because, hey, why not? What else are you going to do? Really, what else are you going to do? Remember, you make it happen. Thanks for coming and listening. We're going to remember. Oh, one more thing I want to say. Remember, everything that you heard today is an opinion, maybe fact, maybe not fact. You've got to do your own research. We are not doctors. We only play them on TV. So any advice we've given, forget it. All right. Do the best you can to survive another week. Get your PPP, get your stimulus money, get whatever you can while the getting is good. And we will see you all again in the near future. Next week, same time, same place. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will, I guess that's it for us now for this week. And